Hello and welcome to the Retina Radar podcast. I'm Arshad Khanani, Managing Partner and Director of Clinical Research and Director of Fellowship at Sierra Eye Associates and Clinical Professor of Surgery at the University of Nevada, Reno School of Medicine in Reno, Nevada. In each episode, I'll be sharing information on the latest breakthroughs, clinical insights, and practical pearls for your everyday use. We'll hear from leading experts, explore cutting-edge research, and discuss the trends shaping our field. Whether you're in clinic, in surgery, or on the move, Retina Radar keeps you informed, inspired, and ahead of the curve. To earn CME credit, visit mededtalks.com, search Retina Radar, or click the link in the notes to complete the activity and post-test. Before we begin, please review the faculty disclosures and learning objectives. If you have a question for our experts, send it to us at cme@vindicocme.com, and it may be featured in a future episode. This podcast is supported by an educational grant from 4D Molecular Therapeutics, AbbVie, Adverum Biotechnologies, Alkeus Pharmaceuticals, Astellas, EyePoint Pharmaceuticals, Genentech, a member of the Roche Group, Neurotech Pharmaceuticals, Ocular Therapeutix, Oculis, Regeneron Pharmaceuticals, and REGENXBIO. Today, I'm joined by my good friend and colleague, Dr. Ashish Sharma, retina specialist at Lotus Eye Hospital in India. Welcome, Ashish.
Hey, Arshad, it's always great to be with you at any forum, be it New Retina or anywhere, and I'm truly honored to be on this podcast with you because I have seen your work. I've been following your work, the way you are, leading this entire retinal pharmacotherapy and a lot of newer modalities, whether it's clinical trials or, meetings related to clinical trials. So you are really, really doing a great job in advancing this field. So I'm truly honored to be here on this podcast. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Ashish. Thanks for the kind words. But, the reason you're here is that you are the expert in the topic at hand today. I'm not the expert. And it's been a pleasure working with you over the years and learning about the biosimilar space. I don't think anybody in the world has more knowledge in the biosimilar space and has done more work than actually yourself. So Ashish, you are the world-renowned expert in biosimilars, and we are so lucky to have you here. But before we get to the topic at hand, which is about, clinical trial data, real-world data on biosimilars, as well as how biosimilars get approved, the regulatory pathway. So a lot to discuss. But before we get there, we want to know more about Ashish Sharma. So tell us a little bit about your journey into being a retinal specialist.
So, Arshad, to be, honest, I never thought that I would become a ophthalmologist first, and then retina came later. So in India, the way it happens, I finished my residency, and after my residency, you get ranked, and based on your ranking, then, you choose the best option which is available. So for me, the best option was ophthalmology at that time. So I finished my residency, and probably, my parents, they taught me something, whatever comes, it's not something, that every time you get whatever you want, but whatever you get in life, always give your best and do your hard work in that particular area. So that's I've been following even till now. So what happened after residency, after when I finished my ophthalmology residency, my retinal life started when I became a fellow of Barry Kuperman. And I'm sure, you know Barry very, very well, that how wonderful he is as a mentor and as a human being. So I did my fellowship with him from 2006 to 2008. And during that fellowship, I was exposed to even bench retina research because he had a lab with a wonderful colleague, she passed away recently, Dr. Christina Kenny. So we were doing really bench experiments on retinal cells, neurosensory cells, testing all those, pharmacotherapy drugs which were in the pipeline on those cells, toxicity, because that was Barry's area. So that's how I got exposed to retina, both bench research and the clinics. And then when I always say, sometimes you are at the right time at the right place. And if you really remember, 2006 was the time when ranibizumab was launched. And OCT, we were using Stratus OCT. And Fourier domain was in development at Boston Pharma Institute. So after finishing with Berry in 2008, I got a chance to work even at Boston Pharma Institute with Dr. Douglas Anderson, who was working on the OCT in their OCT lab, where a lot of work was going on with Carmen Polifito on red on OCT. So Dr. Anderson Douglas, he allowed me, he said, Ashish, you feel free to attend retina clinics with all the residents, and even you feel free to go to our OCT, research as well. So that was something, 3 years of retina exposure, and I'm in love with retina since then.
Wow, that's a great story. So I bet you rank really high to get into ophthalmology in India, because I know in the US it's very, very competitive. So that's a great story. Like, you were actually you were training at the time of that transition between no anti-VEGF to anti-VEGF era. And I'm sure you saw patients going blind before anti-VEGFs came out and how they have transformed the retinal landscape. So that's great. Yeah. Okay. So tell me about your hobby before we get to topic at hand. I know you like to sing. Is that your hobby or what else?
Oh, you got it. So basically, me, my wife, and as a family, my son, extended family, all of us, we love music. So it is in any form, whether singing, dancing, playing some instrument, we all with our friends, whenever we sit together, I think that is something which gives us pleasure. And none of us is perfect in any of these, but always be assured, if you are in our company, entertainment is guaranteed.
Great, great. I love that. It's all about spending time with family and friends when after a hard, long day of work or during vacation. Okay, great. So let's get to biosimilars. Tell me, why did you get interested in biosimilars?
So I think this is easy, Arshad, because India was the first country to start, biosimilar ranibizumab use back in 2016. So we started with a lot of hesitation. That's what biosimilars are known for. Everybody starts with hesitation. And over the time, once you start using them and you see, they are equally efficacious and safe, and it is, reflected in your practice over the time, once you start passing on that benefit of cost to your patients, you treat them in a much, much, cost-effective manner so that adherence improves. Even a lot of patients, your number of injections improve. So that's how, my journey started. And then over the time, biosimilars, they came out of India. FDA approvals came in for a lot of medications related to ranibizumab biosimilars, and US, then UK, then Europe, then EMA. I think that's where, when I started working on biosimilars, over that time, with learning and collaboration with colleagues like you and many others, I think we are trying to improve and strengthen this field.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Like, we start with hesitation because, safety is a priority, but we haven't had any events in the US that are concerning with all the available biosimilars to date. So even though we don't have long-term data when the clinical trials are done because the short approval endpoint, it's amazing how they're safe and efficacious. So Ashish, tell me and our audience, what is the regulatory pathway for biosimilar approval? Because, we are used to having biosimilars for pills and others, but these are biologics. So what kind of regulatory oversight is needed, and what kind of efficacy and safety needs to be proven for a biosimilar to be approved?
So thank you for this question, Arsad. Very, very important question, because that is something which is, considered as an inferior kind of trial by a lot of retina specialists because we have seen the data from originators. In all the originators, they go through multiple clinical trials and a large clinical trial data, and clinical trial data also generated in each and every indication which they are approved for. But in biosimilars, what happens is it's like a totality of evidence. That's what FDA works. So what FDA sees is you already have a molecule which has proven its efficacy and safety, and now the patent is expired. So now another company comes in and try to, make a molecule by showing the similarity in terms of the primary structure, secondary structure, tertiary structure, quaternary structure. So overall pharmacoequivalence. So that is the data which comes from the pharmacology side. And now that, a lot of assays and a lot of robust technology can really, really match these two molecules together. And FDA sees at each and every step, it monitors whether you require a second step or not. And then at the end of the pyramid, a small clinical trial, phase 3 clinical trial, which is done just to rule out whether we have left something which might cause any kind of, clinically meaningful difference. So overall, if you look at the phase 3 trial design, once you have one approval for one indication, you get approval for all the indications, extrapolation. A lot of retina specialists, they have concern about this point. But if you see the FDA point on this is, if innovator would have shown any differential efficacy and safety, they would have asked a biosimilar to do a different trial. But once the receptor is same and you have the similar kind of effect and safety with the innovator molecule, it's unnecessary. So you have extrapolation and you have, as you were saying, the short endpoints. Why short endpoints? Because all the biosimilar trial designs are equivalence design. And equivalence can be proven only during the sweet curve of any drug, which is like all anti-VEGF 12 weeks, 4, 8, 12, especially in the loading phase. So that is the right point. But if you look at the overall safety, as per the FDA, that is being done up to the 12 months. So there's no compromise there, and we definitely need to believe on our regulatory, the way they have designed these trials. So this is something, which all of us as retina specialists, whenever we are exposed to biosimilar, should definitely understand and look into it.
No, that's a really great summary, Ashish. Thanks for sharing that with us. And I loved your editorial in Ophthalmology Retina that came out. So if somebody wants to review more, they can look it up. If you put Ashish Sharma, there'll be like 500 articles. So make sure you filter it properly. He's more productive than most of us in terms of publications.
You're joking, Arshad. I know your schedule. I know the way you work, Arshad. That's very kind of you, though.
No, but you keep publishing. And, I'm part of this biosimilar working group that you have created, which is a global group of experts. And it's so amazing that all the big names, in retina are part of that group. So tell me, why did you start that working group? And of course, you have had many publications already with that working group. And it's always great to see you as a leader leading the space with the working group. So tell me a little bit about this working group you created.
Yeah, thank you, Arshad. And first of all, thank you for being a part of this group, because the people like you bring a lot of value to the science. So I'm really, really fortunate to have really, really robust and good thinkers and contributors from across the globe. So the name of the group is InterBios, International Retina Biosimilar Study Group. So the way, it works is anybody who has inclination towards biosimilars and who want to contribute toward biosimilar field, I love to have them in that particular group. And as you asked that why I started this. So if you look at a couple of papers which we published before even US started using biosimilars, even UK and Europe, we wanted to do a perception mapping. So when we did a perception mapping, the study name was Bio User Perception Survey, which was published before the use of biosimilars could pick up in any of these developed countries. And overall, the feedback was that all the biosimilar clinical trial data was not enough for retina specialists. So all of them expressed that if we have real-world data, we would love to have that real-world data, and probably we will have more confidence after watching the real-world data and those evidences, and we might have much more faith in biosimilars if we see real-world data. So that was the point where I thought, I work in a small country, but probably this is something which is needed, where I need support from global audience to go to the global retina specialists, where we can show that different ethnicities, different countries, different molecules, if every real world data can be published through one channel, and if it goes through one channel with a lot of wise people like you and a lot of other people, I think the validity of data becomes really heavy, and then it helps us in advancing this field. So that was the overall idea.
No, I mean, the IntraBios group is great, right? And I think I've seen you publish experience not just from India, but as you said, from all around the world. And I think that's where the power of the group is, that we're actually all working together to generate real world data on these different biosimilars. So tell me, like, what is the role of biosimilars in our retina practice? Of course, you mentioned the cost in India, but I mean, like, you have so many different biosimilars that are available. We had multiple ranibizumab biosimilars. We have one currently, which is in a pre-filled syringe, Pavblu, and it's been widely adopted in the U.S., but we have many others that are coming. So the question is, like, how do you help a clinician, number one, think about biosimilars, and number two, how do you pick a biosimilar, because there's so many different ones out there? And that may not be an easy question, but we'll love to hear your insight on it.
Yeah, I think this is a quite common question whether we are on any platform, and it's difficult to answer. And but I would tell you, the way I answer this question at most of the forums is you pick the one which has the maximum real world data so far. So that is what I've been telling even in India and overseas. So after our, experience with Bevu, everybody is cautious. Whenever anything comes new, we always wait till we go with full force and offering it to our patients. So picking up anything, which we have already developed, our colleagues have already developed some experience in various indications and where real world data is already generated, I think that is the easiest way to pick one of them. And another way to pick, if there is a real, price difference, which can make difference to your patient's pocket. So I think that is also one of the way that you choose one of them. And as you said, Pavblu has really good take-up in United States, and with the help of IntraBios group, we are already having the data analyzed, and probably very soon the manuscript of real-world data from of Pavblu will come out with the help of colleagues like you.
Yeah, no, I mean, excited to always work with you to generate the real world data. And I think it's super important because I think real world safety, as you said, is a priority. And sometimes you don't see safety signals in small registrational studies, relatively, a couple of thousand patients or less, and see the safety in a large cohort. So Ashish, tell me, like, what is the future now for biosimilars? So we have ranibizumab biosimilars. We have a bunch of aflibercept biosimilars. What is going to be the next wave? Like we have, dual mechanism faricimab. We have tyrosine kinase inhibitors. We have gene therapy. So do you feel like that once those patents expire, we are going to see biosimilars in those sustained delivery platforms, or you think the journey for biosimilar ends now with aflibercept? What do you think?
So I'm not sure, I think, Arshad, this time will tell us that, what is going to happen with, a lot of, biosimilars over the time. But as you're right, a lot of companies, they are trying to cut costs with the help of biosimilars, putting them into a sustained drug delivery so that, overall system becomes cheaper. And I'm sure, once the therapies which are supposedly longer duration therapies, once the patent expires, you will see biosimilars of all of them, all the biologics, because that's how the market works. But it's still, Arshad, I would say aflibercept 2 milligram has done wonders across the globe. It was a phenomenal drug, and we have not really seen the real, take up of biosimilars so far, because aflibercept biosimilars have just come in. And probably, across the globe, what I see over the next 5 to 6 years, that would be the first line benchmark.
So Ashish, you think 8 milligram biosimilars are going to come in the future for aflibercept once that patent expires?
So I'm not sure, Arshad, because that depends on your kind of proprietary rights that, innovator has.
Got it. Okay. Well, great discussion, Ashish. Before we close out, we want to learn a little bit more about you, and our audience will love to hear what is a career achievement you are really proud of. I'll give you my input after you tell me what you think is a career achievement.
Okay. So Arshad, I'm not sure whether I think we met a little later, but in 2016, I designed a device called MI RetCam, which was a smartphone-based retinal imaging device. And that is being used in 74 countries now. And, and I own patent on that. But it is not something, that I'm proud of, that I have a patent on that and it's being used in 74 countries. But what I'm proud of is it has made a huge difference in many, many countries, especially countries where the financial capability of screening ROP babies were very, very poor. And the data on the device use is available in the form of various publications by various groups across the globe. And in the recent past, if you look at Peter Campbell, I'm sure you must be knowing him, he's a pediatric retina specialist. He had a study where he compared MI RetCam with the gold standard RetCam. And the outcome was that the device could detect treatment-warranted ROPs with similar sensitivity and specificity at a tiniest cost. So that was a big news in the United States, that a smartphone with the AI can really, really take ROP care to a grand level and can be beneficial for many, many people, and which is already happening in my country. A lot of people, they use device not only for ROP, but also for diabetic retinopathy screening. That is happening in Africa and many other countries. So I think that is something, which I feel that I could contribute as an innovator, as an ophthalmologist.
Well, I knew about the device, but I didn't know that it has such a big pickup. So yeah, I mean, that is impressive. I think you should be very proud of that, right? Because ROP access is so difficult. And, there's very few of us who actually see ROP babies and treat them. So I think it's important that we have this screening program and the patients who actually need treatment get referred to the tertiary care center. So I didn't know that. That's pretty impressive. I was just going to...
And something, what happened, because I spent almost 4 or 5 years learning, how the patents are done, that how the process happens, how, you talk to people, who design the device. So I spent 4 years. I trained few fellows. So I have, but those fellows, after my experience, I see a lot of innovations coming from them in a very, very short period of time. So I'm so happy to see them that, some kind of learning has gone through, and I'm really, really happy to see their progress as well.
No, that's great. I was gonna say that I think you should be proud of what you have done, but from my perspective, you're just a nice guy and great to work with. I mean, I think that's that's what I think you are, and you have achieved so much, right? The Retina Cam, as I said, I wasn't aware it's that big, but that's pretty impressive. And of course the biosimilar space, right? I love people who work hard, who are passionate, and who are fun to work with. And I think you have all those qualities that makes one successful, right? And I think none of this happens without hard work and dedication. I still remember getting emails and messages from you middle of your night and early morning, and so you're always working hard. So I think it's a good example that you are in India, you train in the US with great mentors like Barry Cooperman, who I love because he's just a fantastic friend and colleague and an innovator. But you went back and you found the area you actually wanted to contribute in, and you worked really, really hard, and now you are globally known. So I think this is a really good story about how you can be anywhere in the world and make an impact because you work hard and you are fun to work with. So this is great discussion, Ashish. Talking to you, one question I always ask is, how do you want to be remembered when you retire? Obviously, you're not retiring for another 40 years, but I already told you how I would remember you as a leader, nice person, hard worker. But
So I think, Arshad, I think you have read my words. I would say, I'm so happy to hear, what you just said, that Ashish, I would remember you as a good person. So that's what, I like, I should be remembered as a good human being, good colleague, and probably somebody who had some scientific acumen and who could contribute something to Retina to advance the science. And probably, once the retirement comes, I, wish that I have friends like you, and not only I, know you, but I love that I would know families of all the colleagues whom I work. So I think that is my wish.
yes, I think it's going to come true, especially if you keep singing. We'll all come and listen to you. So thank you, Ashish, for being here with us, talking to us. It's a great pleasure to have you as a faculty, and I also want to thank the audience for listening in. Thanks again, Ashish. To earn CME credit, visit mededtalks.com, search Retina Radar, or click the link in the notes to complete the activity and post-test. Have a question for our experts? Send it to us at cme@vindicocme.com, and it may be featured in a future episode. Stay tuned for future episodes in the Retina Radar series to keep up with the latest insights and expert discussions.